Hi guys, this is Allie with Chaos Monkey, and we are doing the Big Cake Poncho tutorial. And I made this particular poncho that I'm going to use as a sample out of Caron Big Cakes in the colorway, what did I use? Cookie Crumble. So here is the poncho. I will show you on the mannequin, so it will be shown worn, but I kind of wanted to show you a close-up here. And here is what it looks like down to the end, and then with the border. And then here is the back side. So the neck hole from the back, the seamed up, and then to the bottom. And the dimensions on this one are, this is like a small medium size out of one cake, and this is, it was 80 inches completely around from point to point. So for side point to side point, it was about 40 inches across. So front and back, that's about 80 inches around at the widest point. And then it is about 27 inches long from the top to the front point down at the bottom. Now if we measure around the shoulder area, it is about, I want to say, about 19 inches. So 19 times 2 will give you the complete shoulder area on there. So, was that 38 inches, somewhere in there? Around this top part. So, and we keep in mind it gets wider from the shoulder, it gets wider here. So this is just like right at the top of the shoulder is about 38 inches, and then it gets wider. And wider because it's a poncho, so you have plenty of arm room. And we basically just out of the Caron Cakes, which is 100% acrylic, it's considered a size 4 yarn, and the yardage on this is 603 yards, or 551 meters. So this whole poncho was made out of 603 yards, except for this small piece that was my leftovers, which I honestly, I couldn't even, probably just a few yards. And so this was in Cookie Crumble. I'm going to make the one for the tutorial out of the color Shadowberry. And what you need is a size L hook, which is an 8mm. A size J hook, which I believe is a 6mm, right? And then that's just going to be, you won't use this until the end. This one's going to be to do the stitches around the neck hole. So for actually making it, you just need the yarn and an L hook. You need a clip marker to mark the right side or wrong side of your work. And I just use these guys from Clover. Or whatever marker you want to use is fine, as long as you can take it on and off. And then we're going to need scissors and a tapestry needle later for sewing up. Okay, so it is customizable. You can make it any length you want. You can make it smaller, you can make it longer. If you have more than one ball, you can just keep adding balls and keep doing the repeats, and you can make a bigger poncho. And then, you know, work it as long as you want, and then put the border on. Border is optional. The stitches used are a magic ring for the top, double crochet, chain 1, which I don't even know is considered an actual stitch, front post double crochet, and single crochet. And that's it. Okay, and then just as a friendly reminder, I just want to let you know that when you look at the front, or at your video screen, you can look at the lower right front, and there will be a gear icon. If you put your mouse over there, that gear icon, if you click on it, will allow you to speed up or slow down the video. So if I'm going too slow or too fast for you, you can actually adjust the speed. In addition to that, if you click on the description box below, you will have a link to the written pattern, and it will break down the tutorial into sections based on timestamps. So you can go ahead and skip to the section you want. This is going to be considered the introduction. So let's say you've watched the introduction and you just want to skip right into making it. You can go to that timestamp and just click it, and it will take you to that part of the video. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show this to you on the mannequin so you can get a better idea. Alright you guys, here is the shawl on the mannequin. She's about 20 inches across on the shoulders, and there's plenty of room, and then she goes down to about mid-thigh on the small medium, which is what we're going to be making for the tutorial, but remember you can make it as big as you want. This one fits me, and I'm about a size 10, and I'm about, what, 5'7", and it hits me right in about the same place at the mid-thigh. And these are really roomy, plenty of room. I know it's hard to see because she doesn't have arms, but you can see that they comes out quite a bit here. So, if you want to see the back, just bear with me while I turn her, because it'd be easier to turn her than to do the other way. And as you can see, the back is shorter than the front because of the shaping we're doing. If we tried to get the front and the back the same length, we wouldn't be able to do it in one cake. So that's why I chose the shape I did. I basically just made a really big shawl with big wings and then sewed it up the back. And it looks a little sloppy on this one because all of our color changes happened in the back, so you'll see a change from row to row, here and here. And then you can see at the neck and then down. Now there's a little ruffle here, but that's when you put your arms out while you're wearing it, it tends to straighten that out. But if you're going to make this small medium, I do increases from here, front and back here, to give us this extra room for the bust and the shoulders and all that good stuff. If it's too baggy in the back here for you, you might want to stop your increases probably about halfway. And I think that's what I'm going to do on my sample, is I'm just going to do increases to here, just stop the increases here, just work plain, and then that way it won't be quite as ruffly down the back. Now if you want the ruffle, that's fine, and if you're making the larger sizes, I would continue to do the increases because you're going to need all of that extra fabric, especially if you have, let me turn her back around, especially if you have a big bust area, because that fabric is going to give you more in front for your bust and shoulders and back and all of that. So I would keep doing the increases for the larger sizes. It's just the small medium that you might want to stop the increases halfway. And if you don't, it's no big deal. It's just a tiny adjustment you can make if you want. I don't mind all the ruffle because when it's on, it all looks good together, if you know what I mean, with the little bit of ruffle in the back, but it's just another adjustment you can make. Okay, so we're going to get started. I have my yarn, I have my hook, and I'm using my L 8mm hook. I also have my stitch marker because we're going to mark our work here in a few rows. So we're going to start with a magic ring, and this is all I do for a magic ring. I just wrap it around a few fingers just like that. And I'll just show you again. I do it really simply. There's some weird complicated ways to do it, but I just do it really just like that. Just wrap it around. Put your hook under both strands. And then I do a chain just to lock it. So I'm going to lock it like that. So that's my ring. You can see the two strands. Now I'm going to do 2 more chains. 1, 2, so this is a total of 3 because this is going to count as a stitch. And I'm going to go ahead and do 6 more double crochets. So this is going to count as a double crochet. Okay, so we're going to do 6 more into the ring under both of these strands. Okay, and to do a double crochet, you just wrap your yarn over the hook, put it into this stitch, pull it up, you got 3, pull it through 2, pull it through 2. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you're just going to grab your tail, just pull, and that's what you've got. So I'm going to pull some yarn out here, because it's coming from my right side, so it's pulling a little bit. So this isn't going to count as a row. Okay, this is just our setup. It's, well, just our very beginning. Okay, so now we're going to do 2 setup rows just to get our shaping started. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn chain 3, 1, 2, 3, which always counts as a double crochet, okay, in this particular case. And then we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet in the same spot as where the chain came out. Okay, so we're increasing some stitches. Okay, and then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. Okay, and then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and do a point into the next stitch. So this is going to be, the point is just a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet back into the same stitch. Alrighty, and then we're going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So that's 1, another double crochet in the next stitch, and then in the last stitch, which is the chain, we're going to do 2 double crochets. Just going to have to work those in there. And this is what it should look like so far. So you have one little point started, okay, and you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 10 double crochets and 1 chain 2 space. And that's row 1 of the setup, okay, and then row 2 of the setup, we're just going to turn, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now some people turn before they chain, some people chain before they turn. I turn first because I like the way the chain looks better, just a personal thing, so just do whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, so now we're on row 2 of our setup, and we're just going to put the other 2 points in, okay? So right now we've done a chain 3, we're going to double crochet into the next stitch, not the one we came out of, but the next one, okay? And then we're going to put a point in to the next stitch. So it's going to be a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Okay, then we're going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches till we get to the middle point. Right there, and we're just going to do a point into the point. And I'm going to say that like a million times because we're going to put a point into the point every single time. And then we're going to work a double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. And then we're going to put in a point. So that's going to be double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And then we're going to work double crochet into the next stitch, and then a double crochet into the last stitch, which is just chain, like that. So after the second setup row, you should have all your points in place. So let me go ahead and 1, 2, 3 before the point, 1, 2, 3, 4 before the point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You should have 14 stitches, the end of our 2 setup rows. Still liking how that's working out. Okay, so then in the next row, I'm going to turn and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go ahead and mark the right side row. So before I start the next row, I'm just going to put my marker in here so that I know that where the marker is the right side row. Because it can get confusing, especially in crochet. And since we're on the wrong side row, we're going to do all of our increases on the wrong side row for the first and last stitch. So remember, we're always doing increases in the points because we're making points on the points, etc. But when I refer to increases, I'm actually referring to the wrong side increases in the first and last stitch. So this just gives us more, as it grows, this gives us more shoulder room. So that's why I added them. So we're going to go ahead and do a double crochet right into the base of this first stitch where the chain comes out. And that's an increase, and then we're just going to double crochet into each double crochet and point into each point. Okay, and you'll be able to see the structure a little better as we get going here. And I'm going to go ahead and do a point into the point. This is the center point. And then just double crochet over to the next point. We're going to do a point into the point. And double crochet to the last stitch. Remember, the chain's considered a stitch. And since we are on the wrong side, we are going to put 2 double crochets into the chain. And then we'll count our stitches real quick. Alright, so here we go. This is what it should look like so far. And you can see we're getting our shaping started. And I'm not counting the magic ring as a row, so we've got 1 row, 2 rows of our setup, and then we have our double crochet row. So here's just very start, then 1, 2, double crochet row. And if what you need to do is just check your count every once in a while. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the point. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the point. And just make sure that these sides are even and these sides have the same amount and are even. And these will have less stitches than these because these wings are a little shorter than the front, because this is going to be where your arms go eventually. This is the front of the poncho. Okay? So if you think you think anything wonky, do a count. If you're off, you can correct it really easy in the double crochet rows. And it's usually your count will usually be off because you forgot to do your increases on your wrong side for your first and last stitch. Okay? So that is row 3, and we should have, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So we should have 22 stitches at this point, and of course you're always your points, so your chain 3 spaces. So in the future, I won't even address the points, as, you know, I just count the double crochets. But always keep in mind you will always have 3 points and 3 chain 2 spaces, okay? I just I don't count them, I don't put them in the total count, these chain 2s. I just count the double crochets just because it's easier, because we're always going to have those there. Just make sure you didn't forget to do them. Okay, so for row 4, we're going to go ahead and chain 3, 1, 2, 3, This is a right side row, so we're actually going to work into the next stitch, not into the stitch right underneath, because we're not going to increase on this side. We're just going to double crochet into the double crochets and make a point into the points. Okay. And you can kind of get the idea of how the structure is going to work for the poncho. And I try to make it as simple as possible, and so we don't have to do a lot of counting. You might just want to count once in a while just to make sure you're on track, or if you see something wonky, to count to see if maybe you need to catch yourself. But other than that, once we really get our groove on, you won't have to refer to a pattern, and you won't have to count every time, hopefully. Unless you feel more secure doing it that way. But trust me, when it gets really big, you're just going to want to be able to go and not have to count it. So as long as you remember to do your increases on the wrong side, first and last stitch, you should be pretty good and not run into any problems. And don't forget your points, of course. And since this is a right side row, I'm just working one double crochet into that last chain. And again, I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we know we're even, everything's fine. And that's the end of row 4, which should have 28 stitches. Okay, and then we marked our right side, so at this point this is always going to be the right side, so we want to make sure, we always do our increases on the wrong side. So we are going to go ahead and do the same thing, 1, 2, 3, with just double crochets. So we're on the wrong side, so I'm going to go ahead and work the first stitch right into the base of the chain. Double crochet into all of the double crochets and do a point into the points. And then we'll just take a look, and you guys should have a pretty good idea how it's working. Once we get all of our double crochet rows in here at the beginning, then we can start doing some of the pattern stitches. Oops. There we go. And then we will start with the chain 1 spaces, and then the another double crochet row, and then front post double crochets, and then another chain 1 space. And then we go back to 4 rows of double crochet. So you can get the pattern down pretty quickly. But of course I'll work through all of that with you here at the beginning until you don't need me to keep going. And I'm just doing this here just so you can get the hang of the shaping and know what it's supposed to look like here in the very beginning. So we get to the end of this row, which I believe is supposed to be row, is it row 5? I don't know, I'll double check here real quick. I wish I had a clicker. I should have got a clicker to keep track. But I'm kind of just looking at my notes to make sure that the numbers are good. Okay, and remember we're on a wrong side row, so we're going to do 2 double crochets into that last stitch. to finish off the increase evenly on both sides. On both sides of the work. This is getting a little annoying. Pull some yarn out. Okay, so here's what you've got so far. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that was row 5. And at the end of row 5, we should have 36 double crochets. Again, I'm not always counting the chain 2 spaces, so just assume they are there if it's not listed in the pattern, or I don't say. I'm just referring to the double crochet count. Okay? So we're going to do one more row of just double crochet, because what we're going to do is we're going to get 4 rows of double crochet, and then we're going to do our 4 rows of the special stitches, or the different stitches. So we're going to go ahead, turn our work, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. This is a right side row because there's my marker. So I'm just going to double crochet in the next stitch, not in the stitch underneath. We're going to double crochet in each double crochet and do a point in each point. And then we get to do some interesting stitches. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that you can go on autopilot and you can do some double crochet rows and not think, except for, you know, if you still want to do increases. And then I like that there's some interesting stitches so you don't get too bored on a piece this big. So we're just going to work our way across and just get her done to the point to where we can get a little variety. So and then a point. So hopefully that was a pretty easy start. Remember that you can always hit that gear icon at the lower right hand of your screen, and you can slow down the video or speed up the video if you need to. If you crochet slower or faster than I do, you can adjust the speed. And I'm kind of going at my normal pace, but kind of not, because when you're filming, you're not exactly holding it in a natural position. So I think I'm probably at a medium speed, naturally, right now. Here we go, and we're at the last stitch, and we are on the right side. And I like that marker there because sometimes you just forget what side you're on, and it's just nice just to glance real quick. And then we're just going to do 1 double crochet into the chain here. And there we go. So that's our beginning, our setup, and our total shaping in there with our first double crochets. And we have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, after the setup rows of our double crochet. So next row, we're going to do our chain 1. So I'm going to go ahead and turn. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Remember, this is a wrong side row, so no matter what we're doing, stitch-wise, we need to remember to do that increase. So I went ahead and worked into the base of the chain. Now for the chain 1, you actually want to work another stitch here for the chain 1 rows. So you see how we kind of have 3 stitches now before we start the chain 1? We kind of want to keep it that way for every chain 1 row so that we start at the right place. So I chained 1, and I'm going to skip a stitch here. I'm going to work into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, work into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, work into the next stitch, double crochets. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and here you see we're right in the first corner piece. So we chained 1, and all we're going to do is just put a corner into a corner. Okay? And then we need to remember to chain 1 on our way out, skip a stitch, double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. Hold on, I need more yarn. Okay. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. Did I say single crochets? I'm so sorry. If I said single crochet at any time, I meant double crochet. Chain 1, and as you can see here, this is the middle point, and this one's going to be a little bit different. So you can see we're skipping a stitch, but we're going to end up right here. And so you want to go ahead and work into that stitch, and then do a point. Okay? So I went ahead and worked into the double crochet right here, and I'm just going to go straight into a point. I'm not going to chain 1. We're going to do a point like usual. And then we're going to double crochet in that chain on the way out, on that double crochet on the way out. And then we're going to do a chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. So you can see that in the center, it's worked a little different than the sides. Okay, so just remember that the center on the chain 1s will always be worked into the double crochet right here. Then you do your point, work the double crochet here, then chain 1 on your way out. Just do your point in the middle. If that makes any sense, I don't want to be any more confusing, but so let's do that again just to be clear, because I may have overspoke on that one. So here we are just doing our thing up to this middle point. We're going to chain 1, skip 1, and that next double crochet is going to take us right into the double crochet that makes up this point. We're going to work into it, double crochet, okay? No chain 1, make a point into the point. Again, no chain, just work into the next double crochet so it's even. Then chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next one. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next one. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next one. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next one. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next one, and then with the corners, on the side corners, you're just going to work, you're going to chain 1 and just work your point. It's only the middle one that's different. And I'm sorry if you're hearing rattling, that's my cat, and I'm going to get him out of here in a second because he's making way too much noise. So out of the side corner, you're going to chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next one, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next one, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next one, chain 1, oops, did I do 2 chain 1? I didn't. Okay, chain 1, skip 1, and then you're going to double crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 double crochets in that last chain because we're on the wrong side. So that gives us 3 double crochets at the beginning of the other side and 3 double crochets at the end of this side. And I will show you what it looks like before I get my cat out of the room. Here you go. So here's the chain space row. Okay, and then on this one we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So we should have 30 double crochets. Remember, I'm not counting the chain one space, just the double crochets. So 30 double crochets at the end of round, I think this is round 7 right here. So let me double count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, for 7. And then the next row, we are going to do front post double crochet. Okay, so actually, I think I said we are going to do front post double crochet row next, but I fibbed. What we're actually going to do is another double crochet row, because we need to do a double crochet row after this chain one row in order to have something for the front post double to work into. So I was getting a little ahead. So right now what we're going to do is turn the work, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. This is a right side row because there's my marker. So I'm going to work in the next stitch over from the chain. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to work into each double crochet in each chain one space. So we're just going to do each double crochet, each chain one space, put a double crochet in, and each point, do a point like usual. No changes with the points. So I'm going to go ahead and get this double crochet row done. Pretty straightforward. Nothing weird, nothing crazy here. And so I will meet you at the end, because I don't want this tutorial to be hours long. So as you can see, I just worked a double crochet into each double crochet in each chain one space. I'm hitting a corner, so I'm just going to work a corner into a corner. And then I will go ahead, meet you at the end, and then we'll work the next row. Okay, I am back. We are at the end of row 8, where we just double crocheted into each of the double crochets and made a point into each of the points. And now we are going to start the front post double crochet row. So we're going to go ahead and turn our work. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. We're on the wrong side, so we need to do our double crochet into the base of our chain. And then into the next stitch, we're actually going to do a front post double crochet. And it's just the same as a double crochet, except now we're going to go in under the post of the double crochet, pull it through, and double crochet. Next post, do the same thing, double crochet. So you're just going under the post of the double crochet in the row below, and you're just going to keep doing that until you hit a point, and then you're just going to do a point into a point like usual. And we'll go ahead and do that until the first point so I can show you what it looks like. So it's really simple. I'm just going under the post. I'm assuming this is a front post because of the way I'm working it. You know what I mean? I've done front post and back post, and since I'm not going under it from the other side, I'm assuming this is front post. Hopefully I don't have that wrong. But when you flip it, you can see here's the ridge from how it works up on the front side. So this ridge should be on the front side. If it's not, something's wrong, okay? Because you have to work it from the back side. And here we are in the corner, or the point. So you see I did it all the way up to the point. I'm just going to work a point into the point like usual. So it's a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in the point, and then right in this first post right out of the point, you're just going to do front post double crochet. And you're going to work that all the way around. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear kids and my dog, because there are kids playing out here pretty, I don't even know, was it like, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock? Actually it's 5 or 6 o'clock. So we get kids out there playing right underneath my window, and my dog is probably going to bark at them. So I apologize if that ends up being on film. I will try to edit it out if it happens. But I did want to try to get this part finished tonight so I could actually work on the piece and get to the border so we could work on the border together later. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the middle point just so I can show you again what it looks like from the front of the work, so you know you're doing it correctly. Here's the middle point, and as you can see, I'm right at the point, so I'm just going to work a point into the point. Just a normal double crochet, chain 2 double crochet, and then a front post right out of there, and then you can see from the front that that's what it looks like. It makes this nice ridge all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up, and I will meet you back here when we're finished, and I'll give you the stitch count, and then we'll go on to the next one. So here I am almost at the end of the row with the front post double crochets, and so I'm just getting ready to finish up the last few stitches. So I'm just working up to the very last one. And to the chain stitch, we're just going to put regular double crochets in there, and since it's the wrong side, we're just going to put 2 regular double crochet into the last stitch. Because front posts don't really work that well right there. Just kind of makes it look nice. And then there you go, that's what it looks like when it's finished. And at the end of this one, you should have 64 front post double crochets and double crochets total for this row. And this is row 9. So on row 10, all we're going to do is turn our work, chain, well, I'll turn it the right way, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And this time what we're going to be doing is doing the chain 1 row again. And we don't have to do a double crochet row after the front post because we have enough room here that it looks even when we're doing the front post double crochet, when we're doing the chain 1 double crochets into it, chain 1 space double crochet, it actually is even to both sides without having to do the double crochet row on this side, if that makes sense. I'm trying to explain it, but I don't think I'm making much sense. So I chain 3, and since we're on a right side row, I'm just going to go right into the next stitch, right there. And then since we're doing a chain 1 row, I'm going to make sure I do one more because I just want to have 3 stitches at the beginning and at the end, just to kind of keep the count where I need it. So now we're going to chain 1, skip 1, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next stitch, is what I meant to say. You guys know what I meant, right? We're chain 1, skipping 1, double crocheting in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next stitch, and here we are at the side corner. Okay, and we're just going to chain 1 and just work a corner right into the corner. Chain 2, double crochet, and then we're going to chain 1 on our way out, skip a stitch, double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, double crochet, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch. All the way until the middle. And we're just going to get to the middle because the middle is going to be different again. like the first time we did it, but it's going to be different from the corners on the side. So I just want to go through that again just to remind us what we are going to do on the middle corner. So as you can see, we're hitting the middle, and instead of just working right into it, we're going to work into the double crochet right here. So we chained one, we're going to work that double crochet right there at the edge of the point. We're going to work the point, so no chain one, just working into that point like usual. Doing a point into the point. And no chain one yet, because we're going to work a double crochet into this double crochet on the way out. So in the middle point, we should have 4 double crochets and a point right here, just like the last time. Okay, and then we're going to chain one, skip one, double crochet in the next stitch, all the way up to that side point. And the side point, we're going to work the same way we always do our side points. And we will get over there, and then I can give you the stitch count. And here we are right before the corner, side corner, so we're going to go ahead and work to that stitch, and we're going to do what we do, which is chain one and just work a point directly into the point for the sides. And then chain one, skip a stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, chain one, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, all the way to the last stitch. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work, if I can pull my yarn, work a double crochet into the last stitch, because we're at the last 3 stitches, and remember the last 3 stitches and the first 3 stitches on the chain 1 rows, we want 3 plain double crochets in the beginning and 3 at the end. So I hit the end here, so I just chain 1, double crocheted into that, double crocheted into this, and we're going to double crochet into the chain. So remember, we do that just to keep everything as even as possible. So we have 3 plain double crochets, then our chain 1 spaces. We work into this, the corners, just the way we need to, and then on the bottom point, or the center point, is where we have to work into the actual corner and then do a corner in order to have everything work out. So that should happen every chain 1 row. If it doesn't, then check and see if you're off somewhere, or if you forgot to make sure you have your 3 double crochets in the front, in the beginning and in the end of the row. It's the same for the back side, so when you're doing your increases, count those increases as part of that 3. Okay? So just make sure. And then you should be okay if any of that gets thrown off when it gets bigger. Or you can always just fudge it and make it work. So what we've got here is we've just finished row 10 from the beginning of the piece. And you can see we've done a full repeat of the texture stitches or the pattern stitches. So this is, and you can see how it looks even right here without having to do that double crochet row at the end. So this is a chain 1 row, double crochet, front post double crochet, chain 1 row. So that's 4. And here's our 4 plain double crochet. And that's all you're going to repeat So on the next 4 rows, you're just going to do 4 rows of double crochet. And you're just going to work them like normal and kind of go on autopilot. And just remember on your wrong side rows to do your increases first stitch and last stitch. Don't forget to do your points. Always do your points front row and back row. And then you do your 4 plain rows of double crochet, and then you just start this pattern over. When you do your chain 1 row, remember to always do a double crochet row right after that chain row. It's not hard to forget because you can't really work into it until you do that double crochet row. And then you do your front post double crochet row. And remember, if you ever end up on the wrong side, for instance, if you're doing every time you're doing your front post double crochet, you should be on the back side of your work. If you're not, something's wrong. You're off on a row somewhere. The front post only shows on the front if you're working it from the back. Okay? So just be careful of a few of those things and a few tips for you. I'm going to go ahead and work the rest, because all you have to do is just repeat 4 double crochet rows and 4 these rows as long as you want it. Okay? The only other thing you might have to decide is when it's big enough to wrap around you, you may want, like it's past your shoulders, past your shoulder blades, you might want to stop doing the increases on the wrong side for first and last stitch, and that's totally your choice. If you need the extra room, if you have a lot of boob or a lot of back, keep doing them. If you don't have a lot of that and you don't want it to ruffle up in the back, you might want to stop doing them after you get past your shoulders. It's totally up to you. If you forget to stop doing your increases like you meant to and you forgot, it's no big deal. You can't even tell. It just gives you a little more fabric to move your arms around, really, you know. It's just that in one of my pieces it ended up ruffling a little bit more than I expected. So depending on what yarn you're using and how much drape you have and your size, you may decide after the shoulder blades to stop doing the increases. Totally up to you. On this piece, I think I might do that just to see how it turns out. Because on both my prior pieces, I did the increases all the way through, and it looks fine. So, yeah, that's about it. That's all the tips I can think of at the moment. So you're just going to keep working the 4 double crochet rows, alternating with these 4 stitch rows until it's as big as you want it to be. Okay, and we're back with some progress made, and I just wanted to check in with you guys to show you what it should look like. So what I did was, we ended here on this row, which is row 10, and all I did was repeat 3 through 10 2 more times. So you can see here's my final row 10, and, well, not final, but I'm going to do, if you're going to do a 1 cake poncho, it takes 4 of these repeats to pretty much finish off the ball before the border. So I have 1 more to do down here. I just wanted to show you at this size that this could be a child size if you wanted it to be, and you wanted to stop here. I usually stop at a row 10 before I put the border on, so if you wanted to stop here and put the border on, you could make a child size. And that means it would be probably about 17 inches, 18 inches long from the middle to the bottom to the front point. And halfway is about 16 inches, so about inches around. In the middle, and probably a little longer than that, maybe point to point, maybe a tiny bit longer. So just to give you an idea if that's what you wanted to do, and also this is how much yarn you would have left at that point. If you have my gauge, so you may want to make a hood or do anything else you wanted to do. Very versatile pattern. So, but that would be like the small child size. We're going to go ahead and do the small medium adult size, which is going to be going 1 more repeat here, down here. So it will be bigger than that. It will be, for my version, it's going to be about 27 inches from here to the point, and it's going to be 40 inches across, so that would be 80 inches all the way around for the medium, small medium adult size. So I just wanted to show you what you should look like so far on your. Okay guys, so now we're at the end of the poncho. I finished the final row right here. So for one cake, you're going to end up with the beginning section and then basically 3 repeats after that, so 4 total repeats with the setup. And here you can see I have about this much yarn left. And with each cake I've noticed, because this is the 3rd one I've made, you will kind of get a little variation in how much yarn you have left at the end. I don't weigh the cakes ahead of time, which I probably should have done just to make sure there was actually what they said was in there. But any variation in the cake plus any variation in your tension from one poncho to the next can lead to differences in how much you have left for the border, of course. So when you get to the border, because if you're using one cake, if you're using more than one cake, then you should probably be fine, because you'll just make it as big as you want. You'll still have leftovers for the border and all of that. But since we're cutting it so close for a one cake, you might have to redo the border a couple of times just to get it to fit. So here's my row 10, and I'm going to work my border into this, and I'm doing a cluster border. And because this looks like it's less than I had the last time, I'm probably going to end up doing a half double crochet instead of a double crochet for the border, just to make sure I have enough to get all the way through. Now you can do a double crochet, just do the exact same thing I'm doing but with a double crochet if you have more yarn than I have left. And I did weigh this, and I have, oh, I hope I wrote it down. I had 0.7 ounces or 19 grams left. And I'm, just by eyeballing it, I think I probably could make it, but I think it would be close. Very, very close. So I am going to bump down to a half double on this poncho instead of a double crochet. Again, you could do the half double if it looks like you have more than that left over, and have no problems. You could, you know, if you run out at the end but get through the border, you can always use a different yarn to do the sewing up in the around the neck. You know, just pick a color that's similar. Or if you do the double crochet and run out halfway, you could rip it back and just do it with half double crochets, and you know, and might be able to make it. So again, this end part, the very end part, might be tricky. You could also just go without it and just use the scraps for something else. You could just end here and sew up the poncho and do the neck hole, because you know you have lots. But here I think I'm going to make, I honestly think I could do the double crochet border with this much yarn, with the at my gauge with the 19 grams, but I think I probably won't have enough to sew it up or do the stitches around the neck. So here I'm just going to be on the safe side and just do a half double crochet throughout the cluster. So I just kind of want to let you know, when we're trying to get one ball into a big piece like this, sometimes you gotta adjust the border and rip back and adjust it a couple of times. So, you know, whatever you want to do to fit it in there. But like I said, with the 19 grams at the end, if you're going to do the double crochet, I'm pretty much 99% sure that you'll make it. It's just that you won't have enough yarn for sewing up. Okay? So for me, I just want to leave enough to sew up and to maybe do all the way around the neck. And so I'm just going to bump it down to a half double crochet on my border. And it'll pretty much look the same as the double crochet. It's just going to be, the stitches will be just a little bit shorter. And we'll save some yarn on each stitch to the end. Okay, so again, an art, not a science, because everybody's so different. And my gauge can change from poncho to poncho. Even if the yarn that they give me is exactly the same from ball to ball. And you know how it goes. So just gotta be a little flexible. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the border, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are at the last row of the poncho, a row 10, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it, and the border will be worked into a wrong side row. I'm trying to use up every inch of this one cake, so in order to do that I had to kind of just adapt how I was going to do the border. So I did a cluster border because it kind of looks the same from front to back. So doing it on the wrong side row, it'll still look good. Again, if that bothers you, you can adjust it any way you want to. So I'm going to chain 2 here, and I'm going to go ahead and work into each of these 3 double crochets from the previous row that I had at the beginning of the chain row. So I'm going to do into the next stitch a half double. Oh, and if you guys don't know what a half double is, you just wrap the yarn around, go into the stitch, pull the yarn through. You have 3, you just pull it through all 3. And that just makes a shorter stitch than the double crochet. I'm doing a half double crochet only because I think I'm going to run out of yarn. You can do the double crochet border, do the same thing I'm doing, but just use double crochets, because that might work for you. So in the very first chain space, I chained 1, and I'm going to go ahead and single crochet into that space, and then chain 1, and then in the next space I'm going to do 3 half doubles, or 3 doubles, whatever you're doing. Hopefully I don't automatically go into a double crochet out of habit. Chain 1, and then in the next one you're just going to anchor it and just do a single crochet. Chain 1. Next one you're going to do your 3 half doubles or 3 doubles. Chain 1. Next one, single crochet, chain 1, next one, 3 half doubles, chain 1, anchor it with a single crochet into the next one, and then this is what you're going to see. And if you're doing the double crochets, you're going to see more of a ruffle at the end than I've got here. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to run out of yarn, so I switched to a half double. We're going to do the same thing all the way to the first corner, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I'm working the border up to the first point, and I'm going to go ahead and get my hook back in here, and I'm going to chain 1, and then this is going to be a little different. We're going to go ahead and do a 3 half double crochet here. We're going to chain 1 single crochet into here, then we're going to do 3 half double here, chain 1 single crochet into here, chain 1, and then 3 half double. So basically just going to go 3 all together, 3 half double, 3 clusters all together, and just anchor it in between. Oops, I'm already trying to do a double. So let me just rip that out. We'll do a half double, chain 1, anchor it right here into that double crochet, chain 1, 3 half doubles in the middle, chain 1, anchor it in this double crochet, chain 1, and then do 3 more in the corner here, chain 1, and then we're going to go right back to normal, and in the next chain 1 space single crochet, chain 1, and then 3 half doubles in the next chain space, and we'll go ahead and do that all the way to the middle corner, and then I'll show you at the middle what we're going to do there. Okay, so here we are in the middle point, and I've just done my repeats up until this section right here, and then we just have to, I just finished doing 3 half double crochets, so I'm going to chain 1, just going to anchor it here with a single crochet, chain 1, and then just work 3 half double crochets in the center. Chain 1, just anchor it in this other space with a single crochet, chain 1, and then just keep going like we did before, where we alternate 3 half doubles, chain 1, and then in the next space do a single crochet. And then when you get to the third point, you're just going to do the same thing we did in the first point. So it should just look like that in the third point. And work to the end, and when you get to the end, you're just going to work 3 half doubles into each of these 3 doubles at the end. So half double, half double, half double into the chain, and you will be done with the border. So the border is really simple. You can change it up, do any border you want, as long as you have the yarn for it. And I will get to the end and see how much yarn I have left. Hopefully I have enough to sew up and do the neck area, and I will be back. So here is the border finished. This is on the right side, so as you can see, that's what it looks like on the other side. So I still don't mind how it looks on this side, since we had to work it on the wrong side. So that's up to you. If it bothers you, you can change up how you do the border. But I don't mind how it looks. And we're going to, here's the end, where I just worked that single crochet into the last one and then double crochets into the last 3 double crochet stitches. And then we're going to go ahead and start doing the assembly. Okay, so I went ahead and weighed how much yarn I had left doing the half double border, and I had 2 grams left, so I used about 17 grams for the whole border, because we started with 19 grams. So I'm pretty sure I would have probably had maybe this much left if I had done, like maybe a foot, if I had done the double crochet border. So I'm pretty happy that I bumped it down to the half double crochet to use less. So what we're going to do now is just assemble. So we're going to fold the right sides together. As you can see, my marker's on the inside, so that's my right sides. So we're going to fold the right sides together so that we're working on basically inside out, or the back side. And then you can see the border goes up to here, and then here's where we're going to start sewing up. And you can use any method you want to sew up. You could use a whip stitch, you could use, whatever looks good for you. And for me, I think in this case, I might try a whip stitch. I think maybe I'll just do a mattress stitch this time, which all that is, let me try to line this up, is we are going to work this way from side to side, where we're not pulling the yarn over like a whip stitch. So you won't really see the yarn as much, and I think I'm going to do that because I have a gray tail left. The majority is all this light gray, and I'm going to be working through all the dark colors. And if I do a whip stitch, you're going to see that light color whipping through, and I'd rather try to hide it as much as possible with a mattress stitch. So I'll just show you what I am going to do for the mattress stitch. So all I'm doing is just kind of folding it so that the back sides are side by side, so we can line up. There's some color changes, so it's kind of hard to see where your stitches are, but try to line them up so that the stitches all are lined up properly. And then I'm going to get a tapestry needle, which is one of these big guys right here, with just a big enough eye to put the yarn through. And for this, I don't think I want to work with this entire tail, because it's going to be a little bit of a pain to pull this through. So I'm probably going to pull let's see, 3 feet maybe. So I'm going to pull about 3 feet and cut it so that I'm only working with 3 feet instead of the whole bit I have left. And then I'll try to use this for the around the neck. Hopefully it'll be enough. We'll just have a few more ends to weave in, but that's better than trying to wrangle all that yarn through your sewing. That's just not going to work. Okay, so all I did was just pull the end through the stitches here. And I'm sorry my light has changed, so hold on a second. There we go. I'll get some overhead light. I'm going to go ahead and put this onto the tapestry needle. And then what we're going... Hold on, my dog. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the tail, go through the edge of the other side, pull it through, and I like to go through a couple of times down here at the bottom just to give it a little more stability, because that's going to be pulled on a little bit as you put it on and off and all of that. So I just want to make sure that it's got a pretty solid. So I'm just going to go through the same place 3 times. And try to keep it as even as possible. And then I'm going to stay on this side and just kind of go through a stitch, and then go to the other side and go through a stitch, pull the yarn through, and then I'm just going to try to go through some of these stitches kind of behind them to the other side, behind these, and pull it through. So it's going to kind of make an S all the way through, and it's going to pretty much keep the tail on the inside. So if I pull it, you're not going to really see it on the either side, and you just want to keep doing that. So if you're on this side, you want to start on this side, go through some stitches, go through to the other side, pull through, and then when you're on this side, you just kind of want to tuck under some stitches and sew through under these on the other side and pull through. So you're basically making like a big S that's going through, but underneath the stitches, so you're not actually poking through as much as you would. And you might see a little bit here and there, but it's not going to be as bad as if you were trying to whip stitch. And you want to keep doing that until you get to where you want your head opening, how big you want your head opening to be. Now for me, I think I left my head opening to probably about here. So I think right about here in this area, I left my head opening probably about that big. But as you're sewing up, you might want to try it on to test it for you, how much room you're going to need, or whoever you're making it for, to get their head through. You do want it comfortable, of course. You don't want it right up against the neck. So you want their head to get through and a little bit of extra. So you're just going to sew up to that point, and then I reinforce it again. I go through like 3 or 4 times in the same stitch, because again this is going to be pulled on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest of my yarn, and we're going to just do a single crochet around the neck. Okay? And I will show you when we get there. pull in the rest. And I'll just have a couple more ends to weave in. My fault, I left my tail way, way too long. So I didn't want to waste all of that. So what we're going to do now is turn it right side out, like this, because we're going to be working our single crochets from the right side. I'm just going to pull my tail up. So I just pulled my tail through the opening of the neck. We are on the right side of our work, and then now I'm switching to a J hook, which is a 6mm. And what we're going to do is just go into the very edge here and just make some single crochets. So I'm going to kind of go here and then go here, just get it started. And then what I did was I made these fairly loose. I didn't make them super tight with the 6mm hook, but like in the big stitches, I kind of just made a loose stitch and didn't put like 2 stitches in every one of these. I kind of just spaced them out evenly to clean up the neck and also just to tighten it up just a smidgen and not have it, what's the word, like buckle, you know, because you put too many stitches in. So just use your own judgment just to kind of keep it, you see how that's loose but even all the way around. So that it looks nice but doesn't ruffle out in a weird way. So it's pretty much almost 1 stitch per edge hole, but kind of on the really big gaps I'm just putting 1 instead of 2 like you normally would. And here I'm just running out of yarn, so I'm just going to pull the rest of my tail over. You don't have to do that. I mean, if you have plenty of tail, of course you don't have to do this. But I just wanted to use up that tail to make sure, let me pull that from the back, that I have plenty of yarn. And see, like here where you'd think I'd go here just to kind of even it up, I'm going to skip it and go to the next one. But remember, I'm making them pretty loose. I'm not going real tight on these. And then here we are at the very middle with our magic loop that we started, and I just kind of put one right in the middle to work that one in a little bit. There we go. And then on the way out, so you just kind of eyeball it where it looks good, where it's not going to be too many stitches all the way around. Just kind of pull it out and eyeball it, see if it's going to buckle up on you. I think that's pretty good. Remember, we're going to steam block it lightly too to loosen up the neck just a tiny bit at the end. And that's your choice, you don't have to, but I don't have a dryer, so I usually end up steam blocking just to soften up lightly to soften up the yarn so it relaxes, but not enough to kill the acrylic. And you can do that with an iron or whatever you have handy. I use a steamer because I got one for a good price, so I use a steamer now and lightly steam it after I wash it. So yep, that's all I did for the neck, and that was only because I ran out of yarn. I was just using what I had, so I couldn't really do anything fancy with the neck. If you have a lot more yarn, you could go around twice, or you could do some front post, back posts, and maybe do like a ribbing, or even a collar, a taller collar. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. But for me, I just wanted to use up the cake I had and make the edge look nice. So, nicer than it would have anyway if I had left it the way it was. So I'm almost back to the beginning. And see, this is a really big gap here, so I am going to put a couple in there and then kind of anchor it back to the start here with a slip stitch like that. And as you can see, that's what it looks like with the collar on, or collar, with the neck stitches, just to clean it up. And I'll turn it over here. Okay, and we'll see how much yarn I had left. Had more than I thought I would have. So it looks like I got a little knot here at the end. It looks like I might be able to go around twice if I wanted to maybe just have a little more of a, if I didn't make a knot here, of a neck border. Maybe I'll work a single crochet into each single crochet going around, because it looks like I have, I'm going to say about 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'd say like a little over 2 yards left. And that was just, you know, a quick guesstimate, but you can see here in my hand, that's all I had left. So in this case, that might be enough to go around again, just to see what it looks like. I might do that, I might not. It's up to you, you know, whatever you want to do is up to you on your collar. And we are done with the actual construction. So I'm going to go ahead and weave in my ends, or maybe I'll go around it again and see what it looks like, and see if I like it, and then weave in my ends. And after that, I will just wash it in some warm water in the sink with some wool wash, because I have some wool wash, and I like that because you don't have to rinse it out, and makes it smell good. And then I will squeeze out the water, let it dry, and then I'll steam block it when it's dry to get a little more drape. So, and I hope this was easy enough to follow. Just keep in mind there's a lot of room to adapt, to change things, to make it longer, shorter, change the border, change how you do the collar. You can add things, subtract things, tassels, hoods, whatever you want. I'm just showing you a basic design that you can totally do what you want to with. So I'll be really excited to see what you guys do with it if you make a lot of changes. So you can always hit me up on my Facebook group, or and show me pictures, or even, you know, let me know what you're doing. Even on my YouTube channel, you can say, hey, I made it and this is what I did. I would love to hear it. So thanks, you guys. Bye. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you, I did go around twice, and I did do another single crochet row. So just to show you what it looks like when the second row is in, and then this is how much yarn I had left at the end. So I think I like that. I'm not sure, I kind of like that with the gray, with just a little more of a, that second single crochet layer just kind of makes it look a little more finished. So if you have enough, and you don't want to do a full collar, maybe just 2 rows. I kind of like that. So I just wanted to show you because I did end up doing that.